Hello and good afternoon, Miss Shannon. I assume you'll be the one watching this video. This is my follow-up to my responses to the learning outcomes assignment, and I'm just going to be using some of the examples that I provided and explaining them in more detail as we go along. So to start off, we have analytical and reporting skills. So the other day I was being trained on how to run the board, how to open valves, how to speed up pumps, how to turn pumps off, how to read flow meters on the board, basic stuff. And we had our final product ready to move into our distillation column. So they wanted me to move it. So they gave me the procedure to move it, and the procedure, it lists every step in detail, what it wants you to do. And I took the procedure and I started going through the list. Open the bottom valve on the feed tank, start the pump from the feed tank, and monitor the flow until feed tank's empty and the distillation column's full. Well, started the pump, opened up the bottom valve, and I started to get a flow on the pump on the control board. Well, all of our pumps have a recirc line built into them. Every single one. Every single pump that we have has a recirc line to stop it from deadheading. So I was getting a flow from our pump, but the level in our feed tank wasn't dropping, and our distillation column level wasn't going up. But we were getting a flow because of the fact that our final product was circulating inside of that pump. So I sat there for 2 minutes and waited because the line going from our feed tank to the distillation column is long, so it would take a minute normally. But it had been like 2 or 3 minutes, and I still hadn't got any level drop in the feed tank, and I still hadn't gotten any level in the distillation column. So analyzed everything that was in front of me on the control board, and I reported it to our operations lead. He looked at it and he said, "Good catch. That valve, we have a control valve that comes right before our distillation column. Normally that stays open, but in this case he closed it on purpose because he wanted to see if I was paying attention to the levels in each of the vessels and the flow meters." And I was, so I caught it before anything bad could have happened. The pump overheating, product getting hot, ruining the product. So the next one, interpersonal and professional habits. We have meetings every Monday. We're a relatively small company, and we're very laid back, we're very lenient, but when it comes to the Monday meetings, we are very professional. We emphasize everything that's going on during the week, and we make sure everybody's on the same page in terms of what's going on. And we have someone that's always taking notes. We have somebody that's doing a safety topic. And just to make sure nothing gets missed, we have a file share that the person taking the notes will post it to, so that everybody has access to, so that nothing gets forgotten, nothing gets missed, and it works 99.9% of the time. We haven't had any issues with it. The other week, we were getting some drums vacuumed out from a vacuum truck, some wastewater drums, and they mentioned it once in the meeting, and everybody was on the same page. We got everything moved out of the loading bay. We had the drums moved into the loading bay, ready for the vacuum truck. Vacuum truck came, unloaded the drums, and that was it. Nobody said a word to each other after the meeting because we all knew what we had to do, and we were all on the same page in terms of what was going on that week. So I'm very happy to say that the company that I'm working for is very professional when it comes to communicating activities and other things going on during the week. So taking initiative, I consider it the same thing. I consider taking initiative being proactive. And a good example of that, a few days ago, it was during our distillation. We have a trend chart that it shows the steam pressure coming from our boiler to the distillation column. And it's normal, it'll go up and then it will go down and it'll stay down and it'll go back up. Well, our board operator was watching it and it had gone down and it was staying down longer than it was supposed to. So he had sent me out there, he was gonna send me out to check it, and when I was getting all my stuff on right before I went to go out to check it, pressure came back, it was rising. He said I was good, but I figured I'd go and check it out anyway. So I walk to the boiler room, I get there, and I do my check. Everything's fine, nothing's abnormal. So I say it was just an anomaly. And right as I'm about to walk out of the boiler room, it trips. The flame goes out, I hear it trip. And because I was right there, I was able to catch it instantly, reset the boiler, and it came back on, no problem. And not only was I taking initiative by going outside to check it anyway, but I was being proactive by being there whenever it did trip. So we weren't wasting time walking all the way to the boiler room, and we weren't wasting time trying to reset it. During that time, we could have lost steam pressure and temperature in the middle of a distillation, which is not. Okay, so I do apologize, but my phone messed up in the last clip, so I'm gonna have to piece these two videos together. So again, I do apologize. But going back on what I said, not only was I being proactive by already being in the boiler room when it tripped, but I was also showed initiative by going out anyway whenever he told me that I didn't have to. Because I mean, I saved time that it would take to walk to the boiler room, and I saved the time that it would take to try to reset the boiler. During that time, we could have lost steam pressure and temperature in the distillation column, which is not good because the distillation is the final step in our process, and that needs to be spot on every single time because that determines the quality of our final product. So moving on to safety, we have a checklist that we have to go through every morning. It takes us all the way around the unit, takes us to the pump house, it takes us to our sumps, we check the sump levels, and we have to inspect our safety showers. So check the pump house, check the sumps. I was doing the safety shower check and I noticed that there was a drum that had just been left in front of one of our showers, and the showers have a clear outline area that's lined in bright yellow tape that states in all capital letters, "Do not block," and the drum was blocking it. So that is a safety violation. So since I was the one doing the check and I noticed it, I just took the drum and I moved it to a designated area, and our safety shower area was cleared again. Not a big deal, but it is something that can happen, and it's something that you will have to take the responsibility to fix if you spot, because if somebody gets a chemical in their eye, that's the last thing that they have that can stop them from losing their eyesight or save them from the chemical doing any other bodily harm. And the last thing, a technical task that I have performed. So a few weeks ago, whenever we were down for maintenance, we had installed a new piece of piping because the original piping branched off into a direction that we didn't need it to go to, and it was causing more problems than it should have. So we decided to just get a new piece of piping that went exactly where we wanted to and install it. We installed the piping, ran a batch, and discovered that the flanges weren't tightened all the way. Or not the flanges, I'm sorry, the flange fitting was not tightened all the way because the flange was a threaded flange, so the fitting was not tightened all the way. And the only way we could get to that was taking it apart, but since our maintenance lead wasn't there, I was tasked with doing it. So they assigned me with doing the lockout, tagout, and removing the piping. So for the lockout, tagout, I had to trace down the control valves that were in front of the piping and behind the piping. And I had to remove the air lines and make sure they were closed, and then tag them out, and then document that on the lockout tagout sheet. I got the lockout tagout sheet signed out, and I filled out the safe work permit. Once I got the safe work permit filled out, I grabbed my tools. I grabbed chemical gloves in case there was anything inside the piping. I grabbed a bucket to catch anything that could have fell on the ground to stop from making a mess. And I grabbed my tools. All I needed was a wrench and channel locks. I had all the tools I needed, and I went to work on the piping. I took apart the flange, and I took apart the flange fitting on the end of the piping, gave it to my maintenance lead. Once he got back, he fixed it. I flushed out the piping to clear out any product that was in there, put it back together, tightened the flanges back up, tightened up the threaded fitting on the flange, and reversed the lockout tagout. I put the air lines back on the control valves and got the control valves back into service and signed it off, and it worked. We ran another batch and the piping was not leaking anymore.